Right, everyone. You know those days where you just don't know what to talk about? There's nothing to talk about. For the simple reason being that the transfer news are still there, but the fact that the Serie A is back this weekend just outweighs the transfer market news. So we don't have real updates when it comes to the transfer market. Plus, it's good to start thinking about the transfer market, but at the end of the day, we're still basically in April. So we've got still a long way to go until the transfer market. So today, you know what? I decided to make it an interesting one, to make it an interactive one. Today, I'm going to go through all of the Premier League clubs and choose one player to bring to Roma. Now, yes, you might say, well, it's too easy. You just pick De Bruyne, Konate, and Ruben Diaz. No, it says it in the title, it needs to be realistic. And this is a challenge which I posed to myself. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it took me at least 20 minutes to try and get a solid list of realistic players, one from every Premier League club, which in my opinion not only can easily join Roma, but I would bring myself to my club. Feel free to play along in the chat. It's a purpose. The purpose of this is to be interactive, so feel free to play along in the chat. It's gonna be a fairly long one, so let's get cracking. If you're buzzing, smash the like button, and also if you want to see a part 2 with one player from every Serie A club, smash the like button as well. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Arsenal. Now, this is fairly simple. Now, people might think this is bullshit, but I do think I've gone with Lacazette for the simple reason being that he's gonna leave Arsenal this summer. He wants fresh air. He wants to change club, and he said this many times. He's gonna leave this summer, and that's basically official. And in a potential case where Tammy Abraham leaves, I think Roma would not only just point their eyes on Lacazette being, God. What the hell happened there? Did you hear that? But I do think if Tammy was to potentially leave Roma, I think Lacazette to Roma would barely be 3 steps away. I think if Tammy Abraham leaves Roma at the end of the season, I would definitely say that a big candidate to replace Abraham if he leaves. Obviously, who wants Tammy to leave? I would much rather want Tammy rather than Lacazette. But if Chelsea operates their buyback clause, I do think we would point our eyes on Lacazette. People who say this is unrealistic, this is not unrealistic at all. Tammy Abraham is 10 times better. No, let's not exaggerate. Tammy Abraham is at least 3 times better than Lacazette. And I would see, if we were to sell to get Lacazette. Oh, what did I do? If we were to sell Tammy for Lacazette, I would see it as a step back, because I think Tammy Abraham, not just because he's a Roma player, but because of his age, because of his value, because of the goals he scored this season, I do think Tammy Abraham is clear of Lacazette in this moment. But Lacazette is still a very interesting player, and he is the player I would point my eyes on if Tammy was to leave, and obviously as an Arsenal player, I would choose him. Aston Villa second. I've gone with a player which many of you guys have listed yesterday in the live stream. I've gone with Douglas Luiz just because Villa are a team with so many young players, and these young players are all orientated to stay in the Premier League. Big players, Jacob Ramsey, but I can't see him moving away from Villa, if not the Premier League itself. There's Coutinho, which in my opinion is unrealistic. We've got Ollie Watkins up front. I can't see him going away from the Premier League. So the only real player which I think is a player I wouldn't necessarily say we need, but it's one of the positions which we need to focus on this summer, is exactly Douglas Luiz, Brazilian national team. He's very aggressive. He's one of those bastard players which Mourinho absolutely adores. So when it comes to Villa, it was tough because the majority of Villa players are basically gonna stay in the Premier League, and that's for sure. I could have gone with Emi Martinez in goal. But we've got Rui Patricio, we don't need Rui Patricio, and I would much rather want Douglas Luiz to join Roma from Aston Villa. Brentford next. Now, if you link Christian Eriksen to AS Roma, because a few years back, Christian Eriksen has said that he loves AS Roma and he's a big supporter of the club. You're right. I've gone with Christian Eriksen just because I think Brentford have a team which is just not good enough. And yes, don't get me wrong, Ivan Toney up front is always dangerous, but his attitude is even worse than Zaniolo. And this is the main reason of why I wouldn't get Ivan Toney. You know, he's once in that video with, I'm not sure if it was his girlfriend, he said Brentford were a shit team. And then a second time, a few days back, someone asked him, where do you play? You don't even want to know. Something like that. So you see, his attitude is bad. These two videos, which got posted online, ruined the reputation between Ivan Toney and the fans. This is why I didn't choose him. I went with Christian Eriksen. After all that happened to him this summer, he is an absolute baller. You know, he was basically, who would have said that Christian Eriksen would get back playing with the Danish national team? The hard work, the determination, and just the mentality this guy has is amazing. The only weird thing with Christian Eriksen to Roma is, if I'm not wrong, he had a few arguments with Mourinho back at Tottenham. But nothing, I mean, these are players which I would bring, not that Mourinho would bring. So I would definitely bring him because of the mentality. Adding more experienced players to the team, you know, is always great. As much as I do think that the 60% of the future of this club needs to be based on young players, I do think the big experienced players still need to be there to give a sense in big tournaments, for example. And I think Christian Eriksen would be amazing. And out of all the Brentford players, I think he is clearly the best. Brighton next. This was tough because Brighton are a very solid team. I've gone with someone which I already picked before in one of these videos, and it's Tariq Lamptey. He's amazing. Once again, linking him back to the Villa situation, I can't see Tariq Lamptey leaving the Premier League. I just can't see it happening. But out of all the Brighton players, I think he's definitely the more talented. Don't get me wrong, it would be very hard for Brighton to sell him. And I think Chelsea made a big mistake when it comes to selling Tariq Lamptey. But out of all the Brighton players, I think Bissouma was more unrealistic in a way that big clubs want him. I know Manchester United had link-ups with him. I've gone with Tariq Lamptey. Another reason being is that the right-hand side where he plays is one of the positions which we need to 100% focus on in a transfer market. Korzop is good, but he's good as a reserve, not as a starting 11. And Maitland-Niles will get back to Arsenal. So I think Tariq Lamptey, I've gone with Tariq Lamptey. Now, Burnley next. I mean, Josh, if you're watching this, you know he's a big Burnley fan as well as a Roma fan. It took me at least 10 minutes to try and think of a good player in your team. But, yes, many people would have gone Weghorst, but we don't need Weghorst, to be honest with you. We've got Tammy, and this is why I went with Cornet, whatever his name is. So, you see, he's one of those interesting players which I think deserves more than Burnley. And it's definitely realistic. He used to play for Olympique Lyon. I think he's not bad, you see. He's good. Obviously, would I buy him? No. I think that we could buy more interesting players than him. But once again, out of all the Burnley players, we could have gone with Nick Pope and go. He's interesting. They've got Tarkowski in defense, which we said before is a free agent this summer. And that makes things easier. But when it comes to talent, I do think Cornet is one of the best in the team. And I do think he's very similar to Felix. And, you know, I can see him joining this club. In fact, Cornet was very close to joining Roma back when he was at Olympique Lyon, yeah. So I've gone with him. Now, Chelsea next. Yeah, you see, this is where the realistic part comes in. I think Chelsea have got a lot of players. Now, I think one of the players which I would 100% steal from Chelsea is Sarr. Malang Sarr in defense, in my opinion, will become an absolute baller. But I said, I didn't go with him because in one of the next clubs you'll see that I've gone with a similar situation. So I didn't pick Malang Sarr. Obviously, My favourite player, you know who he is. He's N'Golo Kante. I wish Roma would get N'Golo Kante. That's not the case. I've gone with Hakim Ziyech. Simple reason being, I think he wants to play more. And Hakim Ziyech is one of those players which was one step away, like this close to joining Roma. He got offered to AS Roma, and Monchi, that bastard, turned down the offer and bought someone else, bought Nzonzi with that amount of money. It's mental. He was this step close away from joining Roma. I think Chelsea could do with selling him, especially in this tough moment they're living. They can 100% do with loaning him out, because I don't think, out of all the players they have, I don't think he's vital. I don't think he's a key. And out of all the players, I think he's realistic, 100% realistic. And I've gone with him. I think his left foot is absolutely wicked. So free kicks, assists, and even goals he could bring to the team. Now, next up, we've got Palace. Palace have got a very young team. I was researching them. They've got a very, very, very young team. Zaha would be top class, but I'm afraid to say that he's kind of unrealistic. I mean, he's not Messi or someone, but I do think it would be too easy for me to go with Zaha just because he's the standout player for Crystal Palace. I've gone with Eze, very similar player to Zaha, but in compared to last season, he's not playing as much just because Crystal Palace have basically discovered Elise and a few other players. So I've gone with Eze because I think, once again, similar situation with Hakim Ziyech. He wants to play more, and in compared to last season, he's not that big part of a project now that Roy Hodgson is not the manager anymore. So yeah, I've gone with Eze. I think he's talented. He's a young player, and he's one of those players which I think would be perfect as a reserve. One of those similar players to El Shaarawy in the need of the team, but I've gone with Eze. Now, next up we've got Everton. You see, when it comes to Everton, I think right now there are some players that are unrealistic, such as Richarlison. I think is unrealistic. Pickford is 100% unrealistic. But you see, Everton is risking a lot, and if Everton wants to get relegated, I think all of the players which were classed as unrealistic would 100% be realistic. If Everton get relegated, I can see Richarlison wanting to leave and wanting a new experience, and that's where Roma can jump in. But obviously, do I think Everton will get relegated? I don't think they will, frankly speaking. This is why I have gone with Van de Beek. I know he's not an Everton player and he is a Manchester United player, but please forgive me. I've gone with Van de Beek. Yes, you can probably see some unrealistic limits to Van de Beek, but to be honest with you, I think even loaning Van de Beek out to Roma would not be a good solution only for him, but for the club and for Manchester United as well. I think Manchester United, especially if Rangnick stays, which I highly doubt, but if he does, I think Van de Beek is completely cut off their project. And Van de Beek has said that he's not happy at Manchester United, so I think he could easily accept a move to Roma if it's on a loan, on a permanent deal. I really don't know, but Van de Beek is definitely my player. When it comes to Everton, I know he's not an Everton player, but please forgive me. Otherwise, I really don't know who I would have picked. Right, next up we've got Leeds. Leeds defenders, and the way Leeds play in defence is appalling. I would have 100% gone with Rafinha, but he's unrealistic. Rafinha is a baller. Yes, people say Bamford. He's not good enough in my opinion. Harrison is good, but I'm going to leave him to Leeds. He's one of those players which I can't see leaving the Premier League. I've gone with Meslier in goal. Now, he's one of those, we don't need him. But once again, this is not linked to the real situation at Roma. This is just me picking one player for every team. We don't need him because we just bought that young goalkeeper, which I was talking about, who plays for Benfica. We don't need him. But Meslier is a young goalkeeper, which in the cases, after Rui Patricio retires from football, after Rui Patricio's not in his prime anymore, after Rui Patricio says, stop, I'm not having football anymore, I think Meslier can be he's young, he will make his mistakes, but wise people once said, you only learn by making mistakes. And I think Meslier has learned so much over the course of his Leeds experience. With Bielsa himself, just from going from the Championship, getting promoted, to being unbelievably last season with the team. I do think he's got a very weak defence in front of him, which leads to many goals Leeds concede. Which leads to many goals Leeds concede. Ha ha ha. But yeah, I've definitely gone with him. Now, Leicester, I've got with a young talent. His name is Ademola Lookman. I could have gone with other players, but I'm a big fan of Lookman. I am a massive fan of this guy, and if Tammy stays, I can see a massive link-up between him and Tammy. They know each other really well. Something which I really like about Lookman is that he's young, and the mentality he has at his age is something which Zaniolo would pray for. Now, I remember once, it was story time with Simon. It was in the middle of lockdown. I was bored, and I turned on my television and I watched West Ham against Fulham when Ademola Lookman played for Fulham, and he had a 90 in an injury time penalty, and he decides to try a panica, and he tried to chip the goalkeeper, and it was one of the worst penalties humanity could see. The amount of abuse, racial abuse, just abuse in general that he received after that penalty was insane. This guy tried his best to save Fulham from relegation, didn't manage to do so, came to Leicester this season, and is a fundamental key to Leicester. His mentality, in my opinion, is amazing. His talent is amazing, and I will 100% choose him. Simon, check the comments. I'll check the comments at the end, don't worry, lads. So yeah, I've gone with him. Now, Liverpool, you see, Liverpool is where I would dream for a Salah return. Will it happen? It won't. The rumours saying Salah will join Juventus. Hopefully not. But I've gone with this situation here. I've gone with a situation here in which I'm not permanently buying a player, but I'm loaning a player out. And I'm loaning Ibrahima Konate in defence. He's young, and he can have just an increase in growth at Roma, an increase in confidence, just like Kumbula's having, that when he gets back to Liverpool, he can be a staple next to Van Dijk. And I think with Liverpool have such a good defence, I think he's not having so many leg time in his he's not playing many matches. I think I would loan him. I would 100% buy him, but it won't happen because Liverpool spent a lot of money on him and are keen to keep him. So I've decided to loan him because I think the small talent hidden in him, coming to Roma, and I think he can grow a lot and then come back to Liverpool. For City, I've gone with Zinchenko. Yes, I could have gone with Gabriel Jesus up front in case Tammy leaves. I could have easily gone with maybe Gundogan if people consider him realistic. Ake in defence. I've gone with Zinchenko because, I don't know, I just feel as if Zinchenko has got something inside him which he still hasn't shown to the City fans. Especially now, all that's happening with his country, it's extremely hard to do so. And in a very tough league like the Premier League, in a very competitive league like the Premier League, I'm afraid to say that all that's going on with Zinchenko, his country, to perform well in such a league will be very, very hard. This is why I think he needs to leave. I'm not saying he desperately needs to join Roma, but I think a new experience for him could refreshen him up. I could have gone with other better players, but you see, I've gone with him because I think he's got something inside him which he still needs to show the world. And I don't want to be dramatic here, but that's just the way it is. United, we've said it many times, I've gone with Lingard. He's a free agent this summer, and he's one of those positions where if Mkhitaryan doesn't renew his contract, then I think he's 100% a player which we can buy. Mkhitaryan is good. I would definitely say to Mkhitaryan to renew his contract for 1/2 more years. But if so, Lingard is a very similar player to him. And even when Mkhitaryan ends his contract with Roma and decides to have a new experience, I do think Lingard will be a really good replacement. For Newcastle, they're going with Saint-Maximin, clearly their best player. He's such a baller. Yes, it's kind of unrealistic, but I would actually pay a lot of money to get Saint-Maximin. He is unbelievable. He just when he runs with the ball beneath his feet, he's Forrest Gump. He's amazing, and I really would see Saint-Maximin join Roma. And hopefully it will happen because I think he's a baller, and I think imagine Saint-Maximin, Tammy, and someone else. I think that link up front could be amazing. Norwich, very tough. I've had to research quite a lot here. I've gone with I'll be honest, this is a random one because I would buy no one from Norwich. But I've gone with Ida, Irish talent, Irish striker, who scored a goal against No, it wasn't Man City. He scored a goal lately against someone. I'm not gonna explain why I picked him, just because I don't know who to pick. Southampton. I would love James Ward-Prowse to join Roma, but I think James Ward-Prowse will join a club like Tottenham, a club like United. I think, right, this is weird. I didn't choose a player. I chose Hasenhüttl to be the vice of Mourinho. Hasenhüttl is such an underestimated manager. He manages a team which last December was top of the league. He is such an underrated manager. I picked him to be the vice of Mourinho. Imagine Mourinho and him working together. I really will put posters all around and trying the duo to work together. Mourinho Hasenhüttl. I think he can bring to success. He's such an underrated coach. I can't stress this enough. It's not a player, it's a coach. Tottenham, Højbjerg. We've talked about Højbjerg. We've talked about the relationship Mourinho has with Højbjerg. Do we really need further explanation? We've spoken about Højbjerg like 48 hours ago. So that is the player I have gone for. Watford, this is probably the most unrealistic player out of this list. I've gone with Ismail Assar. I would pay 50 million euro. No, not that much. I would pay 30 million pounds to get Ismail Assar. I think he is a baller. If Zaniolo leaves, buy Ismail Assar right now. He deserves more than Watford. He deserves more than Roy Hodgson sitting on the bench. He deserves more. And Watford, if at the end of the day they'll probably get relegated, I really want Sar to join Roma if Zaniolo was to leave. 100%. Right. West Ham, I've gone with Souček. He plays in those positions where we need players, defensive midfielder positions. If Oliveira stays, it would be amazing. I really want Oliveira to stay, but once again, we said it yesterday, Veretout has a question mark. Cristante has a question mark. I know Juventus are interested in Cristante, which self-explanatory, I really don't know why. We've got a lot of midfielders. Diawara with a question mark. I think we need to buy midfielders, and Souček can be a good replacement. And lastly, last team is Wolverhampton. Wolverhampton obviously has to be a Portuguese player. It was Rui Patricio last summer. I've gone with Podence this summer. He's very fast on the ball. And Roma needs a player who can skill, enter the box, and win penalties, shoot, and assist. The only player who does that on the two wings right now is El Shaarawy, and he barely ever plays. Zaniolo just always tries to shoot or always passes backwards. Podence is someone who's fast on the ball, cuts inside in the box, wins penalties, and sometimes grabs goals and assists. So I think his contributions are good. Wolverhampton are a really good team, and obviously a Portuguese team. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this interactive video, choosing one Premier League player from every Premier League club to bring to AS Roma. Tammy won't leave. Bissouma, yeah, it's between Bissouma and Tariq Lamptey for Brighton for me. Tarkowski would be good. I agree. Tarkowski is also a free agent this summer, so If we need defenders, you can always count on him. Everton is Ray, Van de Beek, not that good. Mkhitaryan is better. God, I really hate the Premier League. Alisson, Marquinhos, Rudiger, Ibanez, Salah. Imagine having these players. Well, we had these players. That's weird to think. You definitely know these players more than I do. Max Aaron's probably their best player. Salisu or Walker Peters. When it comes to players, yes, but trust me, Hasenhüttl is very underestimated. Are we thinking strategies when taking these players, or just pick them? Just pick them, but be realistic with your choices. I could have easily gone with Kante, De Bruyne, Salah, but be realistic. To pose that challenge, that obstacle in your inner self. I just hope Spina comes back as soon as possible. Their keeper is very good. Jose Sa's good, but we don't need him. We've got Patricio. So ladies and gentlemen, I really hope you enjoy this live stream. And I hope you enjoyed playing along with me. If you haven't already, smash the subscribe button. We're getting closer to 2,600 subscribers. Please subscribe if you're watching this and you haven't already. And share the link with your families and friends. Smash the like button if you haven't already as well. And comment in the comments your own player from every Premier League club which you would bring to Roma. But be realistic, just as I did. Follow me on Instagram at the Roma Guy Lower Score. And I will catch you tomorrow for the preparation for the